Try as I might, I can't avoid making a show about me. Well, that's not the right way to say it. I can't avoid having myself become part of this show, and that's never what I want. I mean, I am the show, but I want to talk about things out there happening besides what I say. Why do I need to tell you what I say when you hear me say it the first time? But this Mars thing is just totally all over the place out there. And every one of these people talking about it, from local TV news, say in Dallas, or the Politico, are getting it totally out of context from our old buddies at Media Matters for America, which wouldn't know the truth if it knocked them unconscious. Anyway, greetings, folks. It's great to be here. Great to have you with us. Telephone number is 800-282-2882. If you want to be in the program, the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Trust in media. Did you see the latest poll from Gallup? Trust in the news media is at an all-time low. And it's not surprising. And I don't have to use just examples involving me to illustrate this. And you know it as well as I do. According to Gallup, just 4 in 10 Americans say they have a great deal or even a fair amount of trust in the media to report the news fairly and accurately. Now, if I'm in the news media business, now I don't even think they're bothered by this. I think it bothers them the slightest because they are the first to know they're not really in the news business. And they're the first to know that objectivity and credibility is no longer the recipe for what they do. So it probably doesn't bother them, but it is explainable. Let's look at this Mars business. Yesterday, we had the most incredible announcement from NASA that, and let's not forget, and this is what is not reported in the Politico. I don't know if these local TV info people in Dallas even know what I said. I doubt that anybody reporting on what I said actually knows what I said. I doubt that any of them actually went to my website to read the transcript of what I said and then report on it. Even after reading what Media Matters took out of context and reported, their curiosity was not even such that they would go to my website to see if what they were being told was accurate or true. So yesterday we have this big announcement that they found flowing water on Mars, and that 2/3 of the planet used to be an ocean. 2/3 of the northern hemisphere used to be an ocean. It was a mile deep. I raised a question. How do we know this? Have we probed a mile deep? We know that there's always been water on Mars because they have ice caps on the poles. So it's not news that there's water. That's why they said free-flowing water. But that wasn't the big deal. The big deal was that some scientist, and it was important to call the guy a scientist, some scientist said that a catastrophic event, probably related to climate change on Mars, resulted in this. I'm sorry, folks, but that's not science, and that's not even a good wild guess. How can there be a catastrophic event on Mars when there is nobody there to experience the catastrophe? How can there be a catastrophe on Mars when we can't even prove it? All we can do is wild guess it. And the very fact that my objection to this is being noted is proof positive that there is an agenda attached to this. Otherwise, they would leave my comments alone. There is an agenda attached to it, and they've got to try to discredit anyone, in this case me, who is attempting to attach whatever they're doing with Mars and the news they're reporting to the Democrat leftist agenda, which, of course, is climate change. And I predicted yesterday that it would not be very long before we would see evidence that my reaction and take on all this is accurate. And lo and behold, right here, I formerly nicotine-stained fingers, did NASA, this is from Yahoo News even, this is Millennial News Network, did NASA time its Mars announcement to coincide with The Martian, a movie starring Matt Damon? NASA's announcement confirming it found evidence of water flowing on the surface of Mars. Not now, but many, many moons ago. Or I should perhaps say many, many Marses ago. Was celebrated by scientists looking for life in the universe. And it was celebrated by publicists at 20th Century Fox looking to promote The Martian, the upcoming Ridley Scott film starring Matt Damon. In the movie, Damon plays Mark Watney, an astronaut who has to survive alone on Mars after being left for dead by his crew during a fierce storm on the planet. What do you bet in this movie that fierce storm is related to climate change? I haven't seen the movie. But here's the thing. I don't think so much NASA was... Well, they might be timing the release of the news to support the movie. Actually, that's probably true. But more than that, NASA wants to go to Mars. And Obama's turned NASA over to Muslim outreach, in case you've forgotten. NASA wants the money to go to Mars. It makes total sense in the world that they would time NASA, the release of, look what we found. We found flowing water on Mars. Oh, my God. There could be life. Oh, my God. We got to go. We got to go. We got to go. And here comes the movie. They throw in climate change relationships just for a little dot the I, cross the T, and magic happens. You think people don't know? Oh, Snerdley is telling me that some of you may not know that when I mentioned NASA was converted to Muslim outreach by Obama, that you might be turning the radio up or scratching your heads. No, he did. One of the first things he did when he assumed office in 2009 was to convert NASA's budget and the use of that money into Muslim outreach. Why do you think? And by the way, we're going to get into this. Putin is now running the world, folks, not us. Vladimir Putin's running the world and making mincemeat and a joke out of Barack Obama. Vladimir Putin, a former KGB agent, went to the United Nations yesterday and said to the rest of the world, do you people know what you have done by supporting the Arab Spring and by launching all of this Muslim activity in the Middle East? Do you know what you've done? And it was Vladimir Putin speaking up for democratic values and freedom and liberty, and not the president of the United States at the UN. It's just stunning. This all happened yesterday while the program was going on, and some of it afterwards, and I didn't have a chance to delve deeply into it till, of course, the program was over yesterday. It's stunning what happened at the UN. I mean, Barack Obama was treated like a child. He was laughed at and mocked and made fun of. And I don't even know that he knows that's what happened. It happened from the podium at the UN by virtue of what Putin was saying. Anyway, NASA's been converted to Muslim outreach. They want to go back to Mars. Hell, that's fine. I mean, I'm not opposed to going to Mars. I'm big on exploring. The problem that everything that Obama touches has been corrupted, and by corrupted I mean it's been converted to liberalism. Everything that exists here exists for the purpose of advancing the Obama agenda. And something as innocuous, this is my way of attempting to educate and inform, something as innocuous as a supposed discovery on Mars can be converted to this. And it has been, and it is. And I'm simply trying to alert people to be on the lookout for it so they can maybe resist it. I'm sorry, I'm the mayor of Realville, and some scientist who's never been to Mars, who's never going to go to Mars. All we've got is a couple of rovers up there and our telescopes and so forth. We haven't had the slightest idea what's ever happened on Mars. But this guy stands at the podium wearing his official NASA lab coat, with his official NASA card, business card, and he says, yep, free-flowing water up there on Mars. Brilliant, great discovery. Two-thirds of the northern hemisphere used to be an ocean a mile deep, but it's not there anymore because of a catastrophic event probably related to climate change. And they tell us this is science. There isn't science in any of that. And that's exactly what I said yesterday. And these people at Politico and at Dallas and the local TV news, I'm sure, are clueless of what I really said. And those sound bites are coming up. One more thing about life on Mars and water. And, folks, I'm sorry, I can't help myself. This quest for life Elsewhere in the universe, it's understandable. We don't want to feel we're alone. I understand that. We don't want to feel like all there is us on this blue marble. There has to be something out there. But if there is, it is automatic that it's much more advanced than we are. Whatever life forms are out there, smarter than we are, may have even been here a long time ago, built the pyramids, and then figured out this planet doesn't have what they need to survive, so they left. They did Stonehenge, they built the pyramids, and then they gave up. Said this place, they ran into humanity, said, this is crazy, and left. The point is that every one of these assumptions on alien life is predicated on the fact that we're primitive, that we're murderous and self-destructive, and there are far more advanced civilizations in the universe. And, oh, God, would they please contact us? So we get movies from Spielberg like, I don't know, whatever the name of it was. No, not E.T., that E.T., but the one where the aliens actually landed in some guy's backyard out in Arizona or Colorado or somewhere and played musical tones. It's like Jeopardy. They're like watching. That's right, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Anyway, water might be a necessary condition for life as we know it. But, and here I'm going to get technical, and beyond the ability to understand of those at Media Matters and elsewhere in the drive-by media. Because once you start talking about human life, to them it starts and ends with abortion. And I'm going much, much deeper than that. If you want to start talking about the conditions necessary for life on Mars or anywhere else, yeah, water without question is a necessary condition. But it isn't sufficient, meaning it's not enough for there to be life. What begets life? Serious question. Above and beyond, I'm not speaking about creation or any of that. We know the biblical explanation for life. But beyond that, I mean, what sustains life? What creates life? Where does life come from? Does it come from water? No, well, then where does it come from? Yes, we can. Yeah, most certainly we can. Life begets life. Well, but I'm going beyond the creation. I'm assuming I believe in the God of creation. But beyond that, how does life sustain itself? Life begets. My point is, just because you've discovered water on Mars does not mean there's life there. It does not mean there ever has been life there, because water does not create life. Life begets life. An organism begets itself. Human beings create more human beings, but water, if that's all it took, we wouldn't need to have illegal immigration. We just get some Democrat voters out of the Pacific Ocean. Water does not create life. And if you want to think that all you need for life is water, and they found free-flowing water, or they haven't, by the way, they think they found evidence of it, well, if that can satisfy your scientific requirement for the existence of life, no, I can't change your mind. The idea that Mars once had an ocean, pure speculation, a total wild guess. No one knows. But let's assume for a moment that the NASA guy with his official NASA scientist white lab coat is right. Let's say that there was once an ocean on Mars. Where did it go? That's a lot of water. You have 2/3 of the northern hemisphere of Mars covered by water. It's a mile deep. Where did it go? It can't escape into space. You know why? It's called gravity. And the atmosphere would keep it there as well. So if there was once all that water on Mars, and there is a lot of water here on Earth, what's going to happen to our ocean? Is the same thing going to happen? Is it going to vanish? How did the water vanish? My point is, they're presenting all this stuff to you as fact, just like they're presenting everything involving global warming as scientific fact, and it's nothing but wild guesses. It's nothing but based on computer models, which is the result of data input that who knows if it's legit or not. And one more time on climate change, global warming. Have you ever heard a forecast for next year on the climate? Have you ever heard a forecast for 2018 on the climate? Why do you only hear forecasts for the next 30 years, 50 or 100 years? You ever ask yourself that? These brilliant pro-global climate change people, man-made, come out and they're constantly trying to scare the pants off everybody with these predictions of doom, gloom, apocalypse, or whatever else, but it's always 30 years down the road. Even in 1980, it was 20 years down the road, and we've long gone past the first predictions that predicted doom, and they're dead wrong. Why do they still have any credibility? Michael Oppenheimer on This Week with Brinkley back in 1985. We got 20 years, he said, to stop global warming, and if we don't, and we can't prove it, he said, we can't, but we got to assume it's here, and we got to take immediate steps to stop it, or it's over. Well, here we are, much more than 20 years since then, and the predictions still are not for next week even, next year. They're always for 30, 40, 50, 100 years away. You ever ask yourself why that is? The big reason is you're not going to be here to know whether they were right or wrong, nor will they be. But if the climate is, well, we can't predict next year, next 2 years. It's so slow, Mr. Limbaugh. You obviously don't understand science. Changes are microscopic. Well, shouldn't they have been happening then? I mean, we get 30 years since you guys first started whining about this, after you first warned about freezing. I just think it's all bogus, folks. And it's not hard to find out what I think. It's not hard. You don't need a super secret code. You don't need a special ring on your hand that only you can access what I think or say. Just turn on the radio, and there are more radio stations carrying this program than any other program in the world. Or you go to my website. There's a free side to it. So you can. There's no excuse for not knowing what I say. There's no excuse for taking me out of context. There's no excuse for it other than journalistic malpractice or laziness. Quick time out. We'll be back after this. Don't go away. All right, to the sound bites we go. First up, this is Kevin Roth. He's one of the, he's a fill-in co-host at in Dallas TV, KDAF TV, eye-opener co-host, speaking of the NASA announcement and me, and this is how it was reported. This was this morning. In fact,
not everybody's buying it. At least one guy's not buying it. Conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh went on a show yesterday and posed the question, what if NASA made up water on Mars to help push the liberal agenda? He believes NASA has been corrupted, and he warned viewers that this news will be used for liberal political reasons.
I don't think they made it up. I said they don't know. They can't possibly know. It's speculation. Anyway, there's no excuse for these people not knowing what I said. This is the point. I have a website. It's free. There's a free side to it. You'll see the transcript of everything I say, or turn on the radio. They're clueless. And then Kevin Roth again, same station during this discussion, another co-anchor joins the conversation.
I honestly, truly thought they were going to say they found some microorganisms on Mars and that there is life. And now it's just water. And I'm like...
And also, to be clear, when people think about life on Mars, we're not talking Martian.
Be clear, when people think about life on Mars, we're not talking about Martian. Yes, we are. That's the point. We are indeed talking about Martian. He's talking about the movie. I mean, Ridley Scott, the director of the movie, is out there, oh, yeah, I knew about this water thing on Mars months ago. Meaning, this whole thing has been combined. It's PR. Hey, nice work if you can get it. If you've got a movie out, you can convince the NASA people to time their discovery with the release of your movie. Good for you. Politico has a story. Rush Limbaugh pans evidence of water on Mars as part of leftist agenda. And they take it out of context, too, which is it's no wonder that people that trust the news media is down to 40 or actually lower than that. But again, I don't think this guy, Eliza Collins, doubt that he went to my website to find out what I really said, just looked at these watchdog websites and took it from there. Oh, by the way, folks, we have a big Rush Revere Time Travel Adventures with Exceptional Americans announcement coming later today. You do not want to miss this. Welcome back. Rush Limbaugh here on the cutting edge at 800-282-2882 and lrushbo at eibnet.com. Everett Rosenfeld, CNBC, yesterday. Meaning, I'm reading to you from a news story. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday admonished those who supported democratic revolutions in the Middle East, telling the United Nations they led to the rise of a globally ambitious Islamic State. What happened yesterday at the United Nations is that Vladimir Putin just walked in and took over the role of leader of the world. Not leader of the free world, but leader of the world. And he was able to do it because we handed off, essentially, by virtue of our own country's policies as orchestrated by President Obama, we've thrown it away. We have abandoned our role as leader of the free world or any other part of the world because in Obama's view, it's not our job. It's not our responsibility. It's not our right. We have no business doing anything that we've done in the past. It's time for us to just leave it all alone. We've committed too many mistakes. We're responsible for too much of the strife and the poverty around the world. It's time that we got out. Putin recognized this and marched right in and is now running as much of the show as he can. Here is what he said. This is through a translator. This is at the UN. Vladimir Putin, former KGB. And remember, folks, once you are KGB, you are always KGB. No one ever leaves the KGB. Here's what Putin said. Instead of the triumph of democracy and progress, we got violence, poverty, and social disaster, and nobody cares a bit about human rights, including the right to life, Putin said to a translator. I cannot help asking those who have forced that situation, do you realize what you have done? This, to me, is almost unfathomable. What Vladimir Putin said at the UN yesterday is what we used to be known for. Here is a former communist KGB agent talking about the right to life. We won't even talk about the right to life in this country from our vaulted White House anymore. Leads me to ask, what's the big deal about life on Mars anyway? We won't even defund Planned Parenthood, which butchers life. So what's the big deal about life on Mars? Vladimir Putin, KGB. They've replaced it with a new name, but it's still there, and he still runs it. Vladimir Putin at the UN, instead of the triumph of democracy and progress, in the Middle East he's talking about, versus ISIS, with Egypt, Libya, the Arab Spring, Syria, all of it is a gigantic mess. Putin got together with other leaders in the region, and he and they have agreed on a new pact where they will share intel against ISIS. We aren't part of it. Vladimir Putin, again, instead of the triumph of democracy and progress, we got violence, poverty, and social disaster, and nobody cares a bit about human rights, including the right to life. I cannot help asking those who have forced the situation, do you realize what you have done? He added that the power vacuum following these revolutions led to the rise of terrorist groups in the region, particularly ISIS. Vladimir Putin told the UN General Assembly it would be an enormous mistake not to cooperate with the Syrian government to combat the extremist group. He said no one but President Bashar Assad's armed forces and Kurdish militia are truly fighting ISIS and other terrorist organizations in Syria. Well, this, of course, is diametrically opposed to what we think. We think that Assad is murdering his own people. We have driven, or we have, how many red lines has Obama drawn in the sand and dared Assad to cross? And he's crossed a bunch of them. We haven't done anything. In an earlier speech at the UN, Obama said it'd be a mistake to think that Syria could be stable under Assad. Here's Putin saying, not only is it a mistake to think that, it's the only way he can be stable, the only way the Middle East can be stable is if Assad remains in power, and I, Vladimir Putin, am going to make sure it happens. And Barack Obama and the United States become immediately irrelevant. Obama wasn't even applauded that much at the UN yesterday, and he's out there, he's talking about how all of these military efforts have been bogus and a waste of time, that all of this is the result of a failure of diplomacy. The UN is a failure, period, and its mission is diplomacy. Diplomacy, the lack of it, or the ill definition of it, is precisely why the Middle East is in the mess it's in. The world is not governed by the aggressive use of diplomacy. The world is not governed by the aggressive use of speeches. Our world is governed by the aggressive use of force. And we're not playing. We've opted out. There's a vacuum. Vladimir Putin, who wants to reconstitute Russia back into the great Soviet Union, happily moves in to fill the vacuum. And then lectures us on our abandonment of human rights, including the right to life. And then asks, do you people who've done this, do you have any idea what you have done? Now, there's some people who criticized Russia yesterday over the Ukraine, Crimea, and so forth. Putin said that, yeah, okay, fine, criticize me all you want. But I, and Russia, we are only proposing to help save the world from terrorism. But Obama doesn't want ISIS called terrorists. He doesn't want ISIS related to Islam. He doesn't want Islam related to ISIS. He doesn't want anybody thinking there's any common ground there. And because of that, his hands are tied in fighting these people. We will not dare refer to them as they are. They are militant Islamic extremists, but Obama won't even say that. Putin does say it and says they've got to be stopped. He said, I must note that such an honest and frank approach from Russia has been recently used as a pretext to accuse Russia, of its growing ambitions, as if those who say it has no ambitions at all. However, it's not about Russia's ambitions, dear colleagues. It's about the recognition of the fact that we can no longer tolerate the current state of affairs in the world. He proposed a generally broad international coalition against terrorism, suggesting and likening this action to the anti-Hitler coalition that brought together disparate interests to battle fascism in Europe. Well, that didn't fly with Obama either. He doesn't want any of this that ISIS is engaging in any way, shape, manner, or form compared to Hitler. Nobody wants to be compared to Hitler, obviously. But Hitler and militant Islamic extremists did happen to have a lot in common and did happen to be on the same side in World War II. Putin is simply calling a spade here, but Obama doesn't want any of this terminology popularized. He doesn't want any of it used. He doesn't want Hitler in the same sentence, even with ISIS, and certainly not with militant Islam. Putin went on to warn that international policy toward the region, Middle East, has led to an Islamic State with plans that go further than simply dominating the Middle East. Citing recent data about failures in successfully recruiting moderate Syrian opposition, Putin said that countries opposed to Assad are simply worsening the situation. He pointed a finger right at us. I never thought I would see the day where the Soviet leader, and that's what Putin wants to be, was saying things that you had to pause and consider for a moment. And I never thought I would see the day where on one hand you've got the Soviet leader and the other hand the President of the United States and being conflicted. Never thought I'd see that day. Putin said, we believe any attempt to play games with terrorists, let alone to arm them, are not just short-sighted. This may be and may result in the global terrorist threat increasing dramatically and engulfing new regions. I mean, he's pointing his finger right at us. And Obama's hands-off policy and Obama's quest to make sure everybody understands that there's nothing at all in common between ISIS and Islam. Think about this. We have a former no one ever leaves the KGB. A KGB agent, president of Russia, a Russian leader, schooling us on human rights and moral clarity. That's just unfathomable to me. No. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not claiming that Vladimir Putin has assumed some leadership position with moral authority and so forth. I'm saying he's gone in and claimed it, but that's not who he is. He hasn't changed. That's what makes this so rotten and dangerous. Vladimir Putin is not a humanitarian. He doesn't care about human rights, civil rights. He knows how to speak the language. He knows how to speak the language of the UN. He knows how to speak the language of squishy, linguini-spined leftists. So he goes out and talks about all this stuff. The problem is he's able to. The problem is we've abandoned our role as moral leader of the world, defender of liberty and freedom in the world. We've abandoned it. We've left. We've gotten out of the world. Putin is moving in. He wants to reconstitute Russia as the Soviet Union. This is a power play. What's in the Middle East? Oil. What do you think Putin wants here? He wants domination for Russia. Nothing's changed. Exactly what the old Soviet Union was all about. So we've checked out, and he's checking in. And using the language of the left to soften them up and make them think these are these new guy that we can all do business with. Anyway, it isn't good is the point. And to have this guy talking this way and sounding like American presidents used to sound, it's insulting. To the phones we go. We're going to start with Fred, Singer Island, Florida, right up the road here. Great to have you, Fred. How are you, sir?
Yes, Rush. Pleasure. The catastrophic event that NASA's referring to couldn't happen. Mars does not have an iron core. Earth does. And without an iron core, you can't have a magnetosphere. And without a magnetosphere, any atmosphere would just be blown away by the solar wind.
What? Wait a minute now. How do you know that Mars does not have an iron core?
Well, I read things, and Earth does, and that's what gives us the North and South Pole, and that's what gives us the Northern Lights.
You're saying that lights. Mars has no magnetic field?
Yes, it has no magnetic core. It has no iron core.
And so there's... I don't know what that means. I have no idea. This is total Greek to me. No offense to the Greeks.
What gives us North and South Pole. It's what aircraft navigate with.
Well, but they do have ice caps at what look like a North and South Pole on Mars.
Yes, sir. It does spin on an axis.
But you're saying that axis has not got any iron in it.
The core of the planet is not an iron core.
All right. Well,
so NASA's not being truthful when they're saying it's a catastrophic event. It was never an event to begin with.
What? There has to have been events there. I mean,
it probably. Yes, sir.
Anyway, I'm not enough of a scientist to know what you even mean by an iron core. So I'm going to have to do some research. I can do it in 3 minutes. I know what he's talking about. No sweat. I just do it in a break here. But it'd be easy. A lot of hosts, yeah, exactly right. And everybody in the audience say, wow, what a bunch of idiots we are. I'm admitting I'm an idiot along with you, folks. Iron core. You ever heard this, Snerdley? You've heard that Mars does not have an iron core? You've heard that. Okay, well, I haven't heard it. And I'm not afraid to admit I haven't heard it. I've been focused on the presidential race. Can't know everything. Anyway, we'll look into it. But if they don't have if Mars doesn't have a magnetic field, it does mean. Look at the temperatures on Mars are such. I don't know how water would flow anyway. I mean, we're talking minus 60 or even 190. We don't. It does not have an atmosphere like we have, and these efforts here that people make to draw these similarities and equivocations, it just leaves me cold. Anyway. Fred, I'm sorry, I'm not as informed as you are on this, and so I'm not able to have a informed conversation with you about it, but I will get myself up to speed in due course. In the meantime, Bill in Greenville, South Carolina, great to have you. Hello, sir.
Hi, it's a real honor to speak to you, Rush.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to maybe defend NASA's a little bit, and not how the drive-bys are reporting their news, but the fact that there has been, as they're saying, a climate change on Mars. Obviously, there's nobody there burning fossil fuels, so it's not a man-caused or human-caused climate change.
That's true, too. If you want to approach it that way with that form of logic, I'm all in with you. That's exactly right. If there has been catastrophic climate change, what brought it about? What
exactly.
What are the forces exerting power? It would have to be the sun, right?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
You've pointed out yourself that climate change is natural and constantly occurring, and I think it did occur in the past on Mars, which may have led to them having an ocean and losing it without any human intervention.
Well, that's the thing. Everything is a constant state of flux in terms of the universe. Nothing is static. Everything's constantly changing. And I don't care how deep you want to go in individual societies and cultures and human behavior, everything's constantly changing. The weather is never the same. Seasonal averages, but everything is constantly changing. That's what's so wrong with this man-made disaster debate on Earth. But you raise a good point. There are no men. There's no humanity. There aren't any people. There's nothing on Mars. So what's causing, if there was indeed a catastrophic event related to climate change, who caused it? So his point is that either way these people argue it, they are dooming their own case. We'll be back. Yeah, and why is Putin able to use this language that mollifies all these linguini-spined libs at the UN? He uses the language, he gets away with it because we've abandoned it. We've abandoned the language, we've abandoned the leadership, we've abandoned the positions involved, so he's able to go in and fill the vacuum. And while he's conquering the Middle East and making deals with Iran for oil, we're sitting back thinking everything's safe.